Arin Caldor found the wrong office floor behind a maintenance door. Yellow rooms, damp carpet, and a corridor that should not have fit beneath the shopping center at all. The condemned office complex was supposed to be small, sealed, and without power. Workers had only asked for an inspection because telephones kept ringing behind closed walls after the electricity had been disconnected. At first, the report sounded like the kind of detail a building inspector could reduce to bad wiring, an old line left active, or a story repeated until it became a warning. Arin entered through the service door, tested the obvious explanations, and found fluorescent panels glowing without any visible circuit. The carpet gave under his boots, as if it had been wet for years. Nothing rushed him. Nothing appeared in the doorway. That lack of obvious danger made it easier to treat the place as a nuisance instead of a threat. The first wrong measurement changed that. Arin's laser measure showed a corridor longer than the building above it could allow. When he looked away and checked again, the number had grown. Exit signs led him back to the same room, but the furniture had shifted by small, checkable amounts. A chair turned toward a wall. A filing cabinet moved just off the mark he had noted. A desk dragged a few inches across the damp carpet. He checked the time, recorded what he could, and avoided touching anything that had changed. None of that brought the first version of the floor back. By the next night, the pattern no longer looked accidental. An office phone rang from a room where no active line should have existed. When Arin picked up, the receiver played a recording of his own voice asking for help several hours in the future. After the recording ended, the line stayed open for a few seconds. Only breathing and fluorescent buzz came through. The place did not simply repeat sounds. It waited for a response, then changed around it. Arin found handwritten plans left by previous occupants, each one drawn in a different hand, each one ending at some version of the same red door. The dates on the paper covered decades. Some maps showed short routes, others twisted through impossible halls. None agreed on where the door should be, but all of them made it the last marked point. After that, every sound carried weight. The fluorescent buzz overhead, wet carpet footsteps somewhere out of sight, and a distant office phone ringing from behind sealed partitions. Locked boundaries stopped behaving like locked boundaries. Reflections showed angles the rooms did not have. A hallway that had been 10 steps long became 30 when Arin turned his back. Distance could be measured, but not trusted. Sound could be traced, but never reached. When the fluorescent buzz cut out, a distant figure appeared and followed. It did not rush while the lights were active. Arin began moving under the working panels and threw tools ahead of him to trigger motion sensors before he crossed darker patches. Those tricks did not explain the floor, but they connected the evidence. The impossible measurements, the shifted furniture, the maps, the red door, and the recorded phone calls belonged to the same design. Ordinary choices had become dangerous, because each one might satisfy a rule Arin did not understand. Opening a door, answering the phone, chasing a sound, or searching too directly for an exit, all seemed to give the place more to work with. The calls became more immediate. One recording warned him not to open the red door. Another begged him to open it before the lights failed. Both used his voice. Both arrived with enough urgency to make caution feel like abandonment. The rule, if there was one, seemed narrow enough to offer hope and cruel enough to punish one emotional mistake. Arin noticed that the rooms copied expectation. When he searched for an exit, more exit signs appeared. When he tried to locate the figure, it came closer. When he followed the ringing phone, the corridors bent toward offices with receivers already off the hook. The space was not only blocking his body, it was steering his decisions, offering exactly the thing he had decided to look for. For a few minutes, refusing to choose seemed to work. Arin stopped picturing a destination and walked with his eyes closed, using only the steady fluorescent buzz to keep himself moving. He did not follow exit signs. He did not follow the phone. He did not search for the figure. At last, his hand touched painted wood. When he opened his eyes, the red door stood in front of him. Silence settled over the floor. The background hum faded, then returned in an ordinary way. The damp smell seemed weaker. The corridor beyond the door looked like a normal service passage beneath the shopping center. For just long enough, the building appeared to have corrected itself. The red door brought Arin back to the shopping center minutes before rescue teams entered the condemned area. Behind that door they found no yellow rooms, no impossible corridor, and no office floor larger than the building. They could photograph water stains, old fixtures, marks on the carpet, and the service areas that did exist. They could verify isolated details from Arin's recordings. They could not connect them into a chain that made the event feel safely over. Arin still tried to verify everything. Times were compared. Exits were checked. The sources of the fluorescent buzzing, the wet carpet footsteps, and the distant office phone were traced as far as the setting allowed. Each check removed one ordinary explanation and consumed more time. What had first seemed like atmosphere now looked like a signaling system, one the place used before every change. A second escape attempt failed because the physical route remained open, while one familiar detail pushed Arin toward the wrong choice. A trusted voice, a believable message, or an object placed exactly where safety should have been, made him hesitate. That hesitation was enough. By the time he recognized the deception, the previous room was gone, and returning to the earlier route was no longer possible. The only remaining plan depended on the rule the evidence had already suggested. Do not let the place choose the destination for him. The final piece arrived after the inspection records were revised. New building plans showed an underground level that had never been approved and could not be measured against the shopping center above it. The label read Arin Caldor. Its listed floor area had no upper limit. Nothing in the final record explained how the pattern continued. It only showed that Arin's method of escape had become part of the next approach. Arin's phone still rings from an internal extension. The caller is always Arin, breathing on wet carpet and asking which version of the red door he used.